Hi everyone, welcome back to Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks, and today we're going to be taking a look at Windswept Fields. You're probably seeing we have a completely different background today. Disc Golf Valley has added a new course where you can play on the moon, and we'll maybe come back and talk a little bit about that at the end of the video. It's kind of fun. Totally new concept. A lot less gravity to work with. All right, but today we're going to take a look at Windswept Fields. What we'll do first is a quick walkthrough using the practice mode. Let's go down to Windswept Fields and take a look at some of these holes. First one is really easy. We won't have to talk too much about it. Just use probably your 7-speed. Even a 5 would probably be enough to get you down close enough to the basket. We'll use our Explorer here. And I usually just put it off to the right a little bit and let it just swing back for an easy toss in for your birdie. Keep an eye on the wind. That's what this course is all about. Windswept Fields. And some of the speeds are like 4-speed winds like we got right here. And that can really change the distance of your disc. Like we probably wouldn't want to use either one of these skip discs with a 4 wind headed towards the basket. It would probably skip way up the hill and make it a difficult comeback shooting downhill to the basket. So in this wind, let's take a look at something else here. See what else we got to work with in this bag that we're working with. I think this 11 speed will be plenty when you got a wind like this. And in a wind like this, I usually put a bit of a hyzer on it. And yeah, that's just coming in real nice. It doesn't get much better than that. Well, unless you skip in for an ace, which is possible on this hole. But often if you miss the basket, if you're trying to skip in, you can end up going too far up the hill. All right, let's play it again. A 3-speed this time. Let's try this 11 speed again, since it did so well the first time. Yeah, not quite so close this time with that 3-speed, but you know, I'd much rather toss in on the level here than be up that hill trying to calculate how I should aim coming back down. Notice the 3 wind. We're going to compensate for that by pointing off to the right. Over 14 meters, that's going to move a little bit. So eagles. You want to try and get as many eagles as you can when you're working for your 3 stars, because if you mess up somewhere along the way, you're covered with that with those eagles. All right, on this hole, I usually take a look at the direction of the wind and then compensate by changing from a backhand to a right hand, or forehand I should say, and then just let it drift back against the wind. And almost an ace, and we're out of bounds. Well, that's the nice thing about being in the practice mode. You can learn from your mistakes. This 12-speed skip disc is actually much better than I thought it would be. It really goes the distance and has a nice skip. I might have to do a video one of these days playing all of the long holes with that drive to be able to show people just what that disc can do. What? even the 11 speed. That must be a strong wind. Okay, well, Let's try this again and see what else we got here. Okay, let's use the 9-speed. It's probably not going to make it as far as what we would like. And it goes into the lake. Well, we're not doing so well. Thank goodness for the practice mode. Let's maybe reset here and try this again. What I'm going to do is set this to be starting on the third hole, and that way we can easily restart and come back to the third hole again without having to restart and go back to the hole number 1 and 2. This is a nice tip that you can keep in mind when you're playing with the practice. If there's a hole that you want to do over and over and over again to get it right, it's good to set up your practice mode to start on that hole. Okay, this is coming in a little better. Shouldn't go way up the hill. When you're going against the wind like this, that disc is going to lift way up, especially a 4-speed wind. So you want to put that pointer way down below the bottom rim of the basket, going against a 4-speed wind. Not even going to pull it down all the way here. And yeah, there it goes. All right, well, that's looking better. Let's maybe replay the hole again. Different wind condition. Well, is it really? Let's change it from backhand to forehand, and let's try our 12-speed again, but let's go backhand. That wind takes it quite a bit, but that because we're backhand, it's coming back, and that's a little bit more like what you want. Sometimes it just helps to regroup a little bit. Really liking this little putter that came in one of the packs. It flies straight, much straighter than you might think. A Hope. I don't think I've ever really played with a Hope before. But the fuse is also this is a fuse accurate, and so it's something I put in the bag because it's the disc that I usually work with. At least the one I has is a windbreak accurate. Ugh. Shouldn't be talking while I'm playing. The windbreak accurate fuse is the one that almost everybody who has played the game for a little bit has settled on as the best throw-in disc. Let's keep pressing forward here. Hole number 4. Another strong wind behind us. And so we're going to disc back quite a bit. Fortunately, on this hole, there's a nice hill to act as a backstop if you overshoot the basket. And a lot of times that... what's really nice sometimes is you'll get an ace on this one. Okay, we're coming back. We're shooting downhill a little bit. We've got that nasty 4 wind. It's going to lift up our disc. So we're going to compensate by going down below the rim, and we're going to not pull it back quite so far. For a birdie. Let's try again. We'll go with that nice grace. And that went up the hill instead of bouncing off and rolling down. Usually it hits the backstop and just nicely rolls around to the disc, to the basket. So we've got another challenging putt here. Downhill, a little bit of a wind to compensate for. When you're first starting out, you'll have to learn how to do that downhill shot, but you'll get it. That's what the practice mode is all about. Practice those putts. Maybe we'll do a video one of these days just on what you need to do to get good putts. Okay, here's an interesting hole. And you really need to pay attention to the wind when you play this hole, because if you're not careful, you'll end up in the creek. With the wind going this strong left to right, you can take your skip distance driver and point it right about there. And this disc naturally turns a little bit, so I'm going to bring it over a little bit. Well, that worked out okay. And this will give us another eagle that we can put in our bank for any problems that we might run into down the road. See if we can get a different wind. And that's about the same. Let's do the same thing we did before and set the hole that we're working on so we can easily reset. And if you're getting the same wind and you already know how to play that, and you want to try different wind directions and speeds, this is another advantage of setting the practice mode to the hole that you're working on. Because if you already mastered what to do in any given wind conditions, well, you can just, without even playing the hole, reset or restart. And same wind conditions, so we restart again. Here we go. We've got the wind in the other direction. And so we're going to play it a little different this time. We're going to put our pointer further to the right. And every disc is going to fly a little bit differently. So if you're working with a different distance driver, you might, and because I'm working with this for the first time, I'd probably need to learn this disc. But it worked out okay. And in we go for that eagle. All right, this hole is behind the hill, and you can approach it by going around either way. I usually take a look at the wind and see what direction it's going in, and then decide which side of the hill I'm going to come at. And when it's going left to right like this, I usually come around to the left or from the left. Question is which disc to use here. Let's try the 9, I think. And then when I'm going left to right, I'll turn to a forehand and put a little bit of eyes around that, and in around it comes. Sometimes it'll very nicely land right into the basket for an ace. Coming back, I don't think we'll have any problem here because we're so close to the basket, but if you don't get close to your basket, with some of these nasty winds, you can lose it here and end up with a par. So you'll want to practice this one. Even though it's a really short hole, it's these nasty winds for your putt that can get you into trouble. Let's try again. All right, we've got a wind in the other direction this time. Let's maybe try the 6 speed. It's a sticky as well, so it'll stick the landing. And put it way up in the air, let it boomerang around and land near the basket. Not much more to show you on that hole. This is a very similar hole. Your tree is replacing the hill, but notice that there is a mando, so you can only go around on the right here, or you'll lose a point. And let's see, let's maybe do the 9 speed. Point it up in the sky again, and let that wind bring it around. A little bit of a hyzer on that. Oh, we could have used a little more hyzer. Here's another one of those situations where you can really lose it on the putt, end up with a par. When the wind is behind you, it's not going to rise up as much as if it's right in your face, but it's still going to rise up some. So I usually point to the lower rim. Don't go down below the rim as like if it was the wind speed against you. Just put it right to the top rim of the bottom rim. Top of the bottom rim. That's what you want. This is an interesting hole. I think with our 9 speed, we should be able to get across the lake. Usually you use a 10 speed on this, but this 9 speed seems to go the distance of a regular 10 speed. Let's give it a try. We're working with a forehand. And yeah. You don't want to slide too far away from the basket on this one in these windy holes. You like to be as close to the basket as you can, and you can lose it on the putt. Now you don't have to go across the lake. If you'd prefer not to, you can go the other direction, use a backhand. Let's use the 9 speed again. And even though this tree looks very formidable, it usually doesn't give you too much problem. Usually you just can skip right through it without too much worry about smashing and bouncing off of it. There are a couple of places where there is collision in place there, but for the most part you can just breeze through that tree. All right, last hole. And this one is a little bit deceptive when you first start playing. 96 meters, you think, well, maybe I better get out the 9 speed on this. But if you do, you'll find yourself skipping across into the lake on the other side of that windmill. Because you're shooting downhill, you need to keep that in mind. When you're going downhill, that disc is going to go further. So all you really need is a 5 speed here, and sometimes even a 3 speed, if you've got a strong wind behind you, is all you'll need. In fact, I think I'm going to try the fuse. And sometimes the fuse can pop into the basket and give you an ace with the right wind condition. But when it doesn't, it leaves you fairly close to the basket again, so that even in a strong wind, you should be fine to come back for your birdie. All right, let's play it again, Sam. Let's see what this other 5 will do. I'm not going to pull it back all the way. This has a tendency to drift naturally, and we've got a wind. Ooh, look how it stopped there. That's nice. Some discs that you'll find can just go sliding across the field, out of bounds, into the bushes. So I like them when they stop. All right, let's close out of the practice mode and go for our 3 stars and challenge the valley. Windswept Fields. Let's knock it out. 7-speed for our drive. Our Explorer brings it up nicely. Can't complain about that. Nice tap in. All right, we've got the wind going against the direction of our disc, so I think we'll be okay using this distance driver with the big skip attribute. And here's a little tip: when you've got a strong wind that you're working against, if you bring your pointer down closer to the ground, it won't be affected as much by the wind. Okay, it gets us a little further away from the basket than what I would like. Okay, what disc to use? Let's not use this disc. It drifts too far. Let's use the fuse. Just use the fuse. It will go in. That's a famous saying from one of the inventors of the game. Just use the fuse. It'll go in. All right, hole number 3. Let's see what we can do here. We need one of those eagles in our back pocket. Boom, hit the rock again. Whew. Just about bounced back. All right, 2 eagles. That's a good way to start a 3-star run. And pretty hard to get an eagle on this one. You have to ace your drive. We'll be happy with a birdie. That's kind of like what you want. And just let that disc roll right back to the basket. $10. It's going to lift up just a little bit. All right, hole number 5. Can we get another eagle? Oh, that's pretty nice. The hill. Wind is left to right, so we'll go off to the left. Let's maybe pick our 9-speed. I like the way it stops when it hits the ground. Ooh, did I forget to turn it? Oh no. You'll find that when you start playing and talking at the same time, that you sometimes forget to turn it from a backhand to a forehand or the opposite way. And it goes where you weren't planning to go. Let's choose the fuse here. See if we can't still pull off at least a par here. Good. We've got a real hyzer on this. This Grace, I think, is a light disc, and it just catches a wind and flies off. We're going to probably end up with another par here. 36 meters isn't usually that much of a challenge, but when you're working against a wind, you can get into trouble. .36 meters. Oh, good. I thought it was going to drop down there too much. Okay, so we're still hanging in there. Think we'll be okay. Change it to a forehand. Use our 9 here. We like the way it sticks the landing. I think you could use that 9-speed for an ace. And maybe one of these days we'll do a video to show you what you need to do to learn how to ace with any given disc. That is about the right distance. You can go into the practice mode and just keep replaying it till you get a good feel for what you need to do to get an ace with any given disc. Last hole on the home stretch. Ooh, that fuse is going a little further than what we'd like. So a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a tester shot in a wind. Ooh. Wow. Good thing we have those eagles. Still end up with a 10, which I think is even more than what you need. So there you go. 3 stars on Windswept Fields. You can do it too. And let's see what kind of discs this unlocks. A pure. 2 pures. Why would they give you 2 pures? Okay, well, the one we'll probably pop in our bag is the Accurate Sticky. I like to have a pure in the bag because it can help you get around trees. When you get behind a tree and the basket is right behind a tree, well, you can use that pure to just curve around that tree and get in. So I like to have a pure in the bag, but it should be an accurate pure, not just a pure with no attributes. I should write in a little letter to Disc Golf Valley and ask why they have 2 pures here when one is going to totally over replace the other. All right, well, that does it for Windswept Fields. Hope you were able to pick up a few tips, and we'll catch you next time here at Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks. So long for today.